Doing what we already know how to do takes us from 1 to n, but every time we create something new, we go from 0 to 1. Every moment in business happens only once. The next Bill Gates will not build an operating system. The next Larry Page or Sergey Brin won't make a search engine, and the next Mark Zuckerberg won't make a social network. If you're copying from these guys, then you're not learning from them. The prime example of one-to-one development model is China. They have copied 19th century railroads, 20th century air conditioning, and even entire cities. Just for once, take into consideration the scenario where China doubles its energy production within the next 2 decades. It will also double its air pollution. If every one of the Indian households were to live the way Americans do today, but using only today's tools and technologies, the result would be environmentally catastrophic. Spreading old ways only to create wealth around the world will result in devastation, not righteous. Our challenge is to both imagine and create new technologies that can make 21st century more peaceful and prosperous than the 20th. Now let's go into a flashback. 90s was a phenomenal decade, especially in America, but all around the globe it wasn't all rosy. East Asian financial crisis hit in July 97. Thai, Indonesian and South Korean economies were down on their knees. There was a ruble crisis in Russia. Dow Jones plunged more than 10% in a matter of few days. Euro was valued just $0.83 even after 2 years of its release. The whole economy could not hold the challenges of globalization. Then came the short but intense dot-com mania from September 98 to March 2000. With the arrival of Mosaic browser in 93, everything changed. Mosaic became Netscape and released its Navigator in 94. Navigator acquired 20% of the browser market in Jan 95, and it jumped to acquire 80% in less than 12 months. Netscape went public in August 95, although it was not profitable yet, but in next 5 months its stock had shot up from $28 per share to $174 per share. Yahoo went public in April 96 with $848 million of valuation. Amazon followed in May 97 with $438 million of valuation. By spring of 98, each company's stock had grown 4 times, but the economists knew this is just a bubble, as there was nothing going up anywhere around in the world. And so it happened in mid-March 2000 and then crashed to 3,321 in mid-April and bottomed at 1114 points in October 2002. So what was it which the Americans were doing right but the whole world was not? For that, let's have a look at what goes wrong in general proceeding of things when a company as great as HP stops looking for secrets. In 1990s, HP was worth $9 billion. In 91, HP released DexJet 500C, the world's first affordable color printer. In 93, it launched Omnibook, one of the world's first super portable laptop. In 94, HP released OfficeJet, the world's first all-in-one printer fax copier. This relentless product expansion paid off. By mid-2000, HP was worth $135 billion. In 2005, company's market capitalization had plunged from $135 billion to $70 billion. HP's board was split into factions, one of which cared about new technology. That faction was led by Tom Perkins, an engineer who came to HP in 1963 to run company's research division at the personal request of Bill Hewlett and Dave Packard, the owners of the company. He thought the board should identify the most promising technologies and HP should build upon them. But Perkins' faction lost to its rival, led by chairwoman Patricia Dunn, who was also found to be leaking news to the media about HP's internal war. Dunn thought that charting a plan for future technology was beyond board's competence. Having abandoned the search for technological secrets, HP was worth just $23 billion as of 2012, not much more than it was in 1990s, adjusting for the inflation of course. So, what exactly is a technology? Most people confuse technology with information technology only, that is, these computers, internet world. But a technology is anything which allows us to do more with less resources. And new tech comes from new ventures, that is, startups. Startups operate on the principle that you need to work with other people to get stuff done, but you also need to stay small enough so that you can actually work on what you have decided to work on. Big companies normally shy away from this risk. Startups are not only about business and money, they are about new thinking and technology. It's more about who will change the future first And how far is the future is the question. Well, as per the author of this book, it is only far for the time you are blinded to a solution which is 10 times better than an existing one, or the world doesn't know about it at all. In short, the future is now, only if you have the vision to see it. Startup generally finds a unique solution to a problem or 10 times better solution than an existing solution to a problem. Hence, they generally end up being a monopoly rather than a competitive market. A monopoly owns its market. It produces the quantity and price combination that maximizes its profits. Google is a great example of a monopoly, but there is a fact about monopolies, and it is that they lie. Google doesn't claim to be a monopoly, although it owns 68% of the search market. Its closest competitors, Microsoft and Yahoo, owns 19% and 10% as of 2014 data mentioned in this book. Google's 95% of income comes from advertising, and yet it tries to pose as just another tech company rather than an advertising giant. All monopolies know this, that bragging about themselves invites being audited, scrutinized, and attacked. In early 2000, Microsoft Windows claimed 90% share of the market for operating system. There was a question lingering around as to who was more important, Bill Gates or Bill Clinton. The US Department of Justice didn't limit itself to rhetorical questions. They opened an investigation and sued Microsoft for anti-competitive conduct. In June 2000, the court ordered that Microsoft be broken apart. Gates had stepped down as CEO of Microsoft 6 months earlier, having been forced to respond to legal threats instead of working. Microsoft reached a settlement with government in 2001. Today, Gates is better known as philanthropist than a technologist. Now the question arises, is it even good for our society to give so much power to the monopolies, because an economist always dreams of a competitive market? So let's have a look at history of monopolies. With Apple's iOS at the forefront, the rise of mobile computing has reduced Microsoft's decade-long operating system dominance. Before that, IBM's hardware monopoly was overtaken by Microsoft's software monopoly. AT&T had monopoly on the telephone services for most of the 20th century, but now anyone can get a cheap cell phone plan from any number of providers. If the tendency of monopolies were to hold back progress, we would be right to oppose them. But thanks for the fact that ours is a dynamic society. It is possible to invent new and better things. Even the government knows this. That's why one of the department of the government works hard to create monopolies and grant patents, and the other parts hunts down the antitrust cases. Now let's have a look at what obsession with competition brings us in our real life. Google versus Microsoft, a big rivalry we all know. Windows OS versus Chrome OS, Bing versus Google Search, Explorer versus Chrome, Office versus Docs, Surface versus Nexus. Now, while these two were busy competing, Apple came in and overtook them both. Its market capitalization in 2013 was $500 billion, and Microsoft plus Google combined were only $467 billion. Now, if we rewind just 3 years back, both Microsoft and Google were more valuable than Apple. So, this proves that competition is a costly business. It makes us hallucinate opportunities where none exist. So, why aren't people looking for secrets to solve the problems of the world in 10 times better ways, or in a unique way to later build businesses upon them? For this, we'll have to turn to a geek with a gloomy view of the world, commonly known as the Unabomber. This is the story of a guy who was a child prodigy. In fact, he enrolled at Harvard at the age of 16. He went on to get a PhD in maths and became a professor at UC Berkeley. But everybody heard of him because of a 17-year terror campaign he waged with pipe bombs against technologists, professors, and business people. Although this guy was caught by FBI later, but even more interesting is the reason why he took such action. He believed that modern people are depressed because all the world's hard problems have already been solved. What's left to do is either easy or impossible. What you can do, even a child can do, and what you cannot do, even Einstein couldn't have done. So, his idea was to destroy existing institutions, get rid of all technology, and let people start over and work hard, and in this way, they will find meaning in their life. Although this is an extreme example, but since it has happened, so it is a question to ponder whether we really believe that there are no secrets left to unravel. With so much of tech lingering around, there is a $1 million question, which is, will a machine ever replace human? And the answer is it has actually replaced humans in a lot of spheres. But we are again overemphasizing of doing a repetitive task as an achievement. Computers are complement for humans, not substitutes. Let me explain you with an example. In mid 2000s, PayPal was losing $10 million dollars to credit card fraud every month. Since they were processing thousands of transactions per minute, they couldn't possibly review each one. So, they wrote softwares to automatically identify and cancel fake transactions in real time. But after an hour or two, the fraudsters used to change their tactics. They were dealing with an adaptive enemy. The fraudsters fooled the algorithms easily, but they didn't fool the human analysts as easily. So, engineers took the hybrid approach. The computers would mark the most suspicious transaction and forward it to a human analyst. And bingo, they succeeded. They named the system Igor after the name of a famous Russian fraudster who claimed that PayPal would never be able to catch or stop him. Later, even FBI asked for their help to detect financial crime, and since even FBI was interested, so Mr. Peter Thiel pitched Alex Karp, an old Stanford classmate, and Michael Cohen, an engineer, the idea of forming Palantir. Hence, they founded Palantir in the year 2004, and the company is on track to book sales of $1 billion dollars as of 2014. Forbes has called Palantir's software the killer app for its touted role in locating Osama bin Laden. In addition to find terrorists, analysts using Palantir's software have been able to predict where insurgents plant IEDs in Afghanistan, prosecute high-profile insider trading cases, and take down the largest child pornography ring in the world. We are often impressed by small feats achieved by computer alone, but we ignore the big achievements from human and computer cooperation, since human involvement reduces the impressiveness factor. Even if strong central AI is a real possibility rather than imponderable mystery, it won't happen anytime soon. Replacement by computers is a worry for 22nd century, not for us. The most valuable businesses of coming decades will be built by entrepreneurs who seek to empower people rather than trying to make them obsolete. Brilliant thinking is rare, but courage is in even shorter supply than genius.